Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how I did these super beautiful layered marble polygel nails, which glow in the dark. So if you guys want to see how I did it, just keep watching. So SXC was so kind to send me their newest glow in the dark polygel kit, which includes some of the Zodiac signs as the colors. And this is what we are going to be using for the nails today. And SXC does have a surprise, which I will be letting you guys know later on in the video. So make sure you watch it all the way through, as you definitely want to find out what it is. Almost everything I used for these nails was included in this kit, but the little pieces that I used that were not will be listed down below along with this polygel set as well. So if you guys have any questions about what I am using, be sure to check down below. So these dual forms I was super impressed by, because the large, or like the small numbers, the 1 and the 0, they are huge. So I know sometimes a few people have said that they have a hard time using dual forms because the sizes aren't big enough for their thumbs in particular. These ones, I don't think anyone would have a thumb bigger than these. Honestly, these would fit my husband. These would fit my big toe. So this is the number 1, and then I found that there was actually a 0 in here that was bigger, and it is like a hair bigger than my actual thumb. I usually use a size 3, depending on what brand I'm using, but on my thumbs it's normally a size 3. See that? It's like a little bit bigger than my thumb. Couldn't believe it. So good. So it also comes with the paper forms, which is what I will be using to build the nails today. Then you get a whole bunch of extra goodies. So you've got some clear AB rhinestones, which do reflect differently than regular AB rhinestones because there is no foil backing, which I love. Then you've got some clear and colored rhinestones. These ones have like the diamond cut, so when you put them on your nail, they'll kind of lay sideways, and it is so gorgeous to create a little cluster with them. And then these mylar pieces, which I will be using in the nails today. Of course, you get your 100/180 grit file. And then you also have your polygel brush. I love that this one is red, not the standard black that you see basically everyone use. So that was pretty cool that they chose to go with a different color for theirs. And I love that they have it printed on the actual brush, which side is the brush and which side is the picker, because I always get frustrated taking off the cap for the wrong side. So I was just getting out that little packing powder that keeps the brush good in transit and shipping. And then I also just tested the firmness of the brush on my nail, and it is a pretty flexible yet firm brush, so pretty perfect for polygel. Of course, you get your base and top coats. And then I'm just going to use the back of this form to show you guys the colors of polygels. So this color, Cancer, it is like a milky white, and it will be what I kind of build my first layer with. And we've also got a pink, a green. These 3 I will be using in the nails today, the white, pink, and green. And then we've got the yellow Leo color, the Capricorn, which is more of like an orangey pink. I was so tempted to use this one and Leo, but I've done the kind of pink lemonade look a couple times, so I chose to mix it up instead. And this is what they look like when they come out of the lamp when they're glowing. So pretty. I love that their colors are like different. They don't just all glow green. So I'm going to start, as I always do, using my dehydrator on my natural nails. I have already prepped my nails, but I did not include it in the video as it is already a very long video. So I will have it linked in the iCards above in case you'd like to see how I do my prep.
Hey, this is Zach. Be sure to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss out when Chal uploads new videos. And when you hit subscribe, you'll be part of her polished pride.
So now I'm going to go in with 2 coats of my Young Nails Protein Bond, and this is my primer. And I do, for the first coat, I run it over the entire nail, even though I have some product left over And then for the second coat, I just hit the natural nail back by the cuticle area. If you guys are new to doing nails and you don't have the dehydrator and primer, they're not 100% necessary. I did nails for months without ever using a dehydrator and a primer. It just helps ensure that you get great adhesion and that your sets are going to last longer. But when you're just starting out, it's definitely not necessary. You can just use what comes in the kit and you'll be good to go. I would say you can also make your own dehydrator, which will help with adhesion. You can mix half alcohol and half acetone, or you could just use alcohol or just acetone. Either way, you'll get some level of dehydration to your nail plate, so you get really great adhesion. So I'm only going to show you guys building the tip on my nail form just on my thumb, because it's going to be exactly the same for all of the nails. I hope you guys grabbed a snack for this one since it is quite long. So when I am building a nail on a paper form, I do apply the form a little bit differently than what I'm doing right now. I am pinching the form a little bit thinner underneath so that I get a nice thin nail, and that is because I am going to be applying product and building basically a tip on this nail form. So I am going to apply my base coat on my natural nail. Now I do only apply base coat one nail at a time with my nail forms on, and that way I don't have to worry about the other fingers getting little pieces of fuzzes or dust or anything like that stuck where the base coat is. So I only apply the base coat on the nail I'm currently working on. After I have cured that for the full 60 seconds, I am going to start building my tip with my product. So I squeeze the product right where my nail meets the nail form. And then I am keeping my brush wet with alcohol, which is what I'm using as my slip solution. So when I dip my brush in the alcohol, I dab it off on the paper towel, and then I start pressing the product completely flush to my nail plate. I don't need any ledge to be there, which will bulk up the nail when I go to build it later on. Then I start working the product from side to side, making it meet up with my natural nail sidewall. And I am going to be pinching these nails, so I do pull the product just a little bit farther down than my natural sidewall. That way when I go in and pinch, it kind of raises up a little bit and starts to meet where your natural nail sidewall is anyway. So once I get that pressed from side to side, then I make sure that where it meets that natural nail, it is completely flush with no way to tell really where the natural nail is and where the product begins. Then I'll start stretching it down the paper form and into the shape that I want it to be in. This is basically me building a tip. So it's very similar to if I was to use a tip and glue, but I'm going to be building it by hand on my nail form. Then I will take off the nail form later on before moving in to build the actual structure of the nail.
I'm not a sadomasochist, so you can cross me off that list. But if you're unsure, I insist you keep me on a little longer. I'd like to like you like before, but first I've got to be sure, because if I am not for myself, who the fuck am I gonna be for tonight?
So I cured that for about 12 seconds, and then I use my pinching clip to kind of tap and make sure I hear the click click sound. And as long as I'm hearing that click click, I know that I can start with my pinching. And I apply my clip, and then I go back in and cure for the remaining 45 seconds, and I remove my form. I always test to make sure I hear that clicking sound, because if you don't and you go in with your pinching clip, all of your product's going to smush right under it. So always make sure you're testing for that sound before you apply your pinching clip. So I'm going to remove the sticky layer off of this nail so I can pre-shape it. I kind of held my hand up so you guys could see I am missing some product on that side, on the right side of my nail, but that's okay because I'm going to be adding it and correcting it with my next layers. Once I've gotten that sticky layer all removed, I'm going to go in with my hand file and pre-shape so that when I'm applying the actual bulk of my product and the nail, I already have it in the shape that I need it. So then my finish filing in the end is going to be a lot easier. And that way I'm also not wasting product. If I went straight in and started applying product, it would go everywhere that this tip has already been built. So like everywhere the tip is, you'd be placing product there. And possibly in the filing process, you'll file through parts of your design when trying to achieve the shape that you want. So if you go in and pre-shape before applying more product, you'll get a lot better result and you won't risk losing any of your design. So I'm making sure to match up my lower sidewalls with the sidewalls of my natural nail, keeping my file nice and straight and matching it right up to that growth channel that I told you guys about previously. Once I've gotten those lower sidewalls where they need to be, then I start shaping the actual shape of the tip. So like I said, it's going to be a almond shape. So I'm going to round out those sidewalls and kind of bring it to a point, but a rounded point at the very tip of the free edge. The file I'm using is a 180 grit, so it's nice and soft for polygel since it is a softer product to file. I didn't use the file that came in the kit quite yet because it does have some flex to it, and I wanted to make sure that I get a really good shape for my nail. And that way when I'm applying my product after this, it's a lot easier to get the shape that I'm looking for. This is Tammy Taylor peel and stick file, so it is super rigid, no flex, definitely going to get you really clean lines. Now I'm also making sure to file right where the product is meeting my natural nail, and if there's any kind of excess in that apex area, I'm removing it just so that this base is very nice and thin. So I'm not going to be bulking out my nails further when applying my layers. Now this nail is going to be the last I show you for my pre-shaping, and I'm showing it to you because when I built it on the form, it ended up being more of a coffin shape rather than an almond. So I wanted to show you how I fixed that and created it in more of an almond shape. So again, I brought up my lower sidewalls to meet where my natural nail sidewalls are. And then I started rounding out the tip of the nail and really tapering it into that almond shape. Once I've gotten it mostly tapered, then I will start filing my sidewalls to make them nicely curved in that almond shape. And I'll do the same thing as I did on the thumbnail, which is to blend it into my natural nail, making sure there's no bulk in that area. Now, because I had previously applied base coat and then applied the product to form the tip, and then when my hand came out of the lamp, I removed that sticky layer so I could go in it with my pre-shaping. And because I did that, it will affect the adhesion of the polygel on my natural nails. When you're applying base coat, you need that sticky layer to remain in order to get the proper adhesion. So what I'm going to do is buff up where I'd previously applied the base coat. I'll make sure that I've buffed the nail all the way from the cuticle to the tip of the enhancement. And then once I've gotten that done on all my nails, I will cleanse them of all of the dust and debris, and I will go back in with base coat. I'm not going to remove the sticky layer when I'm done base coating this time because we need that there in order to get the proper adhesion. If I had just gone in with the polygel after the pre-shaping and that base coat wasn't there, you would have lifting issues. Likewise, if I had just buffed up the enhancement and left where I had previously applied the base coat on my natural nails without being buffed, and I applied more base coat, it still wouldn't give you the correct adhesion because the base coat is a smooth layer, and when that sticky layer is removed, there goes the adhesion. Like, you're going to get lifting, it's not going to adhere properly. So that's why I buffed it up from cuticle to the very tip and then went back in with base coat. Once I've gotten that all applied, I will give it a 60-second cure and I'll be ready to start applying the polygel.
else in my life without you would be boring, and we'll spend nights, cheap red wine, look it flats even though we can't afford them. I don't wanna let you down, I don't wanna lose you now, I don't wanna let you down.
So once I go in with my polygel, I am going to start with the full purple nails on my pointer and middle finger, but I am going to prep the polygel for the marble nails on my thumb, ring finger, and pinky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pink and create a strip of the polygel on my palette, and then I'll do the white right next to the pink, and then the green right after the white. Then I will take the spatula side of my polygel brush and create little zigzags between the colors so that it kind of marbleizes, and it'll be ready for me to apply once I get to that point. So for these full nails, I'm just going to apply the polygel directly onto the nail, just as I like to do normally. And then I will start with a damp brush. I'm going to brush the product back toward the cuticle, and then I'll start pressing it completely flat against my natural nail, tucking it very close to the cuticle, but without touching the skin. I am keeping my brush damp with a 70% alcohol. What I do is I dip my brush in the alcohol, and then I dab it off on my paper towel before I go in and start pressing the product out. If I was to just go in with the alcohol and I didn't dab it on the paper towel first, it would flood and saturate both the sidewalls and cuticle, but also the product, and it would start breaking it down a little bit, which would affect the strength and adhesion. So I did see a couple little bubbles in my product, so I just made sure to pop them, and then I'm just going to press the polygel back down so I've got a smooth section in that area. It's really important to pop those bubbles when you see them. They don't always look like bubbles. Sometimes, like in this case, I just saw that the polygel in that area was a lot whiter. And so that tells me that there's an air bubble and it has to be popped. Otherwise, it affects the strength and integrity of your nail. So after I press that flat against my cuticle and sidewalls, then I start from the front of the bead I had applied down, and I start pulling it down the length of the nail, making sure to pull it down the sidewalls as I'm working. Now I do leave the bulk of the product right down the center of the nail, and I make the sidewalls and the tip much, much more thin. So when I'm working the sidewalls, I'm pulling from the very side of the product down the sidewalls. And then when I'm at the tip, I'm just pulling from the very front down to the tip. And that way I leave everything, the majority of the product, right in that center area, which will give you all of your strength and structure so you don't have to worry about the nails breaking. I've been wearing these nails all week so far, and I have absolutely loved it. It has been a lot of fun to go out during the day, and then nighttime comes and my nails are glowing. So I love that effect. So after I brought those down the sidewalls, there was a little bit of overhang, so I just made sure to push that back up, and that way I don't have any overhang and I've got really straight, clean lines on that lower sidewall. That was the reason we did the pre-shaping, so we've got nice clean lines and we can just keep all the product within those lines that we already shaped.
Man, we used to kick it like Van Damme. Now you more concerned with Instagram. Showing your
So starting out my marble nails, I'm going to kind of scoop from the colors that I had previously mixed on my palette. And then I will put it down on my nail and start pressing it flat on the nail. I did a very, very small amount because I'm going to be doing 3 layers for these nails. I wanted to make sure there was a lot of depth and dimension. And so when I'm applying the product, I'm applying it in super thin layers. When I first started doing nails and working with product and someone said a thin layer, I would go in and apply my thin layers, and then I would have a hugely bulked up nail, and I would have to file it back down to get it to where it needs to be so it's not huge, right? And the problem with that is you start filing through your layers. So when I say go in with a super thin layer, I mean super thin. Like paper thin, guys. I know you can't see a lot of the color right now, but we are going to be adding more, and it will bring the depth of color up, and you will be able to see the pink and green in the nails in the finished product. You can kind of get a sneak peek of how this one will start to look on my thumb, although I didn't show you my thumb because I did not apply the white like lines and streaks, which creates that marbled effect. I didn't do it in layers on my thumb. I just applied it as like a feature at the very end, and it did not give me the depth that I really needed. So that is why I'm going to show you guys the ring finger so you can see exactly how to get that depth.
Yeah, I know you want me stay. Yeah. So are you down to ride with a bitch?
So once I got that all pressed down flat, I'm going to take the Mylar flakes that came in the kit and I'm going to press them into the polygel. I have not cured the polygel at this point. It is still wet, and that's what's going to help grab onto those Mylar flakes so that when you're pressing it down, they will lay nice and flat. Now that one big piece in the middle, I will remove it here in a moment because it is sticking up too much and I didn't like it. You always could press it down as flat as you could get it and then cure the product and then use nippers or scissors to cut off any bits that are sticking up. But it had a different coloring than the other pieces in this nail, and I think it was because of the way that it was kind of broken up throughout that piece. So it gave it more of a silver look, whereas these ones are more iridescent. So that's why I just took it off rather than cutting off the bits that were sticking up later on. And I was making sure to get larger pieces and smaller pieces throughout. And then I give it a 60-second cure. And I'm going to go in with another layer of the polygel exactly like I did before. Scooping up some off of the palette, making sure I get all three of the colors, the green, the white, and the pink. And then putting it on my nail and pressing it super, super flat. I know the quality on this is not great, and that's because I had to zoom in so much in the editing process, but I will make sure next time I zoom in when I am actually filming the nails. That way you guys can get a really good look at all the detail without it being distorted or any lack of clarity in the video. And again, I know you guys can't see the colors really brightly yet, but I'm going to show you what I do to fix that so you have the pink and green clearly defined in the end.
I was kissing you with my eyes open, but you said keep them closed and be in the moment. So I did my best to make you feel wanted. But what about what I want? What about what I want? And what I wanted was to crash with my dumb friends on the weekend instead of watching a movie. But you wanted me to be what you need instead of being me. Oh, and that's how I knew it.
So I did go ahead and cure that. And now I'm going to use White 101, Pink 101 Pearl by Young Nails, and then a color from Beetles. And this is how I'm going to get that depth of color and brightness in the shades that I'm using.
Okay, 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 okay with me. Okay, okay, okay,
So for the green, I put some down on my palette. Now I'm applying some of the top coat and I'm going to mix those together. We want this to have translucency to it. We want it to be very sheer, and that way when I'm painting it on the nail with my little brush, you can still see the Mylar and all the details that I'm going to have in the nail. We just need to give it a little bit more color than what it currently has. So we want it to be very sheer. I'm just going to brush that on everywhere that I have the green, and I put a little at the tip as I really wanted it to kind of show up in that. And I kind of held my hand to the side of it for a minute so you guys could see the Mylar flakes, because the way I had my lighting set up, I'm not sure what was going on, but it almost was like washing out all of my details. So then now I'm going to use that Pink 102 pearlized color from Young Nails, and I'm just going to apply this right where I have the pink poly gel. And then once I apply it down, I make sure to wipe off the brush like entirely. And then I start feathering out the edges just to make sure that there's like no harsh ending of the color.
I wonder if I should change my mind.
Now I'm going to take a small brush in the white gel polish and I'm going to start creating some lines throughout the nail. Kind of some zigzag type of lines, just very thin. And this is how I'm going to get the first part of my marbled look. I had started with that brush and it wasn't giving me a strong enough line, so I started going in with a detail brush and I'm going to create my line, kind of swirling and zigzagging down the nail. And once I have that laid down and applied with the detail brush, then I will go back in with the brush I used first and I will feather out the edges. This is not going to be super bright and as bold as it is here, because we still are going to go in with additional layers. So this will recede into the nail and start to give you some of that depth and dimension and giving it that real stone marble look. These really reminded me of like crystals, like a rose quartz or an amethyst, how they have that marbling throughout. So pretty. I really, really love the way that these turned out. So like I said, I just am taking my other brush and feathering out the edges. Now I'm going to apply more of the pink and green. This time I'm applying them separately because I didn't want to get the white in here, as I wanted to have the depth of color remain, and the white ends up making it more subtle. So that's why I applied the green on its own in that back area and the pink on its own towards the front. And again, just smoothing it out towards the cuticle and sidewalls, bringing it down to the middle of the nail, and then I'll start pressing flat with the pink. So once I get this pink to start pressing really flat and I work it down the sidewalls and tip, then I will start pressing right where the green and pink meet, so that way they kind of melt together rather than being two separate pieces. We want them to start blending together right where they meet so that there is no issues with having two separate sections that are not attached to each other. We need them to be attached in order for the nail to not break in that area, because if they were not properly blended together and attached, you would have basically a crack. So I know I told you guys at the beginning that I do have something exciting in this video, and that is that SXC is going to allow me to do a giveaway with this same kit. So the way that you're going to enter, and I will have all of the rules listed in my description box in a pinned comment as well. What you'll need to do is make sure you are subscribed with your notifications turned on. You like the video. And then I need you to go to Instagram, follow SXC Cosmetics, and follow me, and drop me a comment just to let me know that you guys have followed and that you're entering. Once you have done all of that, then you guys will be entered into the giveaway, and I will pick a winner next weekend. So after I applied that, gave it a 60-second cure, I'm now going to go in with more marbling. So I'm starting with that small brush, just the rounded top brush, and I'm creating kind of wider streaks of the white details. And then I'm going to wipe off my brush and wet it with alcohol. I'm going to start tapping through the center of this white streak and then on the edges of some of the other white streaks. And that way I've got like a nice kind of faded effect. I did give that a 15-second cure just to hold it in place, and then I went in with my detail brush and started creating more of the bolder lines that are going to give me some nice detail.
Head out with champagne and dresses and let's get girly. It's some booze, fuel teenage ground.
Now we're going to go in with the last layer. I thought it was 3, but apparently it was 4 layers. So for the last layer, I am just grabbing off of my palette again, and I will smooth it over the entire surface of the nail.
Hold the drinks I want and help the one who's gone. Ta-ta, no worries. Please get back early. Head out with champagne and dresses and let's get girly. Ta-ta, no worries. Please get back early. Head out with champagne and dresses and let's get girly.
Now when I'm working these layers, I am not taking them all the way back to the cuticle each time, as it would bulk it out a lot and make it a lot thicker than it needs to be. So for the first like 1 or 2 layers, I just made sure to keep it a little farther away from the cuticle. And with my final 2 layers, I pushed it back to the cuticle, making sure to press it extremely flat so that there is no harsh edge and it has a perfect transition up into the enhancement.
With a hangover till 10 p.m. I'll say I'll never go again.
So I'm going to give it a final 60-second cure. I did all of my filing and shaping off camera, and this is how they are looking right now. I gave them a little spritz with alcohol so you guys could see the little mylar pieces that are deep in the nail. And the thumb, I have not added those marbling lines yet, but we are going to do that right now. So first I am prepping some of my rose gold foiling. This is actually gold leaf. And when I ordered it, it's supposed to be rose gold, but it ends up looking more like copper. Still is really perfect for what we're doing. So I just shredded some of that on my palette, and now I'm going to go in and create my final marble lines. I like to do it in layers, so I've got some that are deep down in the nail, and then I do some that are finer and a little bit less bold on top, so you get that depth. So I wiped off the brush from the polish bottle almost entirely. Like there was, if you could see when I was brushing it on the nail, there was barely anything on there. So I brushed it on the nail, and then I'm using my little brush with some alcohol, and I'm blending out the edges. That way we've got a kind of line that fades onto the surface of the nail. We've got the detail, but it's not too harsh. So I'll just continue to do that and build up those marbling lines. I did give it a 15-second cure before applying more. That way I can kind of work in layers and build up the depth as I go. So once I got that done, I again gave it a 15-second cure. And now I'm going to take that pink 102 pearlized and create some pink sections where I had previously applied the pink polygel. That way it will give that depth of color, and because I'm doing it now on top of the nail, it's going to give a bit more of that pearl effect when looking at it. Now this isn't kind of readable on camera as much, but in person you can definitely see that kind of pearl effect, and it kind of gives it almost like a very slight shimmer to those areas. It's so pretty in person. So I'll just continue doing the same thing, applying that pink in the areas where I had the pink polygel, and then I kind of brush it out, making sure that there's no like harsh stop to where it ends. And then I go back in with my brush and really blend it onto the surface of the nail so that there's no harsh lines. Now I'm going to take my Melody Susie foil glue. I wiped off the brush almost entirely, and now I'm kind of like dry brushing that foil glue onto the nail. I'm just applying it in very small areas randomly on the surface of the nail. Once I've gotten that applied, I will give it a 30-second cure, and then I will go in with that gold foil leaf and start putting it on my nail. I love this little tool. It is a dotting tool on one end and it's a silicone tool on the other. I'm sure you guys have seen me use it a lot. Comes in a pack of like 5 different shapes of silicone tools and different sizes of the dotting tools as well. And it works so perfectly for something like this. So I'm picking up the foil leaf and then putting it on the nail where I would like it to go, and just using the silicone tip to kind of brush it on the nail because it starts breaking it up. Now there was a section there that wasn't breaking up well, so I turned the tool around onto the dotting tool and kind of scratched at it a little, and it did break up a little bit for me. So I'm just going to continue doing this, dotting the gold leafing on the nail, and then using my silicone tool to break it up and brush it over the surface of the nail. That way I don't have big chunks. I've got more finer pieces scattered throughout the surface. So, so pretty. I love it.
If I'm being honest, no, I got a problem. No one made me wanna change. Then that was you. It feels so new. I just wanna get this right. No, I'm not a role model. Nothing ever seems to last. Baby, now that I got it, I'll be better with you. I'll be better with you. Now that I got it. No, I'm not a role model. That I got it. Can't help myself, I like myself way more when you're by my side. Just stay the night, it's been a while. You're not like those other guys. If I'm being honest, you're all that I wanted, cause you make me wanna change. I broke a few hearts or two, now I'm gonna get this right. No, I'm not a role model. Nothing ever seems to last.
Okay, so now we're going to go in with top coat. And I absolutely love this top coat, guys. It's really thick, so it kind of stays where you put it. It's super glossy, and like to the touch, I can't stop feeling my nails because the way that it feels is a little bit different from some of my other top coats. It's just got such a nice feel to it. I absolutely love it. I hope they sell it individually, even though I think that they don't. Maybe we should tell them to sell it individually because I would definitely buy more, so I have backups. So I'm going to make sure I top coat real close to my cuticle without touching the skin, and then over the surface of the nail. And then I will wipe away any top coat that has touched the skin. And then once I've gotten that removed from the skin, I'm going to take a little bit of a bigger bead of the top coat and run it down the very center of the nail. It's going to create a smoothing effect so that all of those little gold leaf pieces are not going to be felt under your top coat. So you apply your top coat, wipe off anything that touched the skin if you have anything that did touch the skin, and before curing, you go in with another bead and run it down the center of the nail. Because you have already applied top coat over the surface of the nail, that larger bead will start to self-level, and it's going to give a really smooth finish to the nails. Now, because I'm applying that larger bead, I do flash cure these for 15 to 20 seconds each nail. So I did my thumb, flash cured it, doing my ring finger. Once I've gotten that on there, I will flash cure it again, and likewise with the pinky. Then I will go in and top coat the pointer and middle finger together, since I'm just going to do one basic coat of top coat.
Sometimes nothing I can say to you could change up your mind. I'll get on your nerves and then we'll fight. Give you all the space you need in on those nights, yeah. Even on your worst days, when you get in my face, tripping on something that I've done, yeah. I would never listen my rock converse and run out on you,
So I gave that a full 60-second cure, and this is how the nails are looking. Now I'm going to apply my cuticle oil and we will be done. Let me know what you guys think of the way the set came out. I personally have never seen anyone do a layered marble look like this using polygel. Let me know if you guys have seen it. I have not, but I love that I was able to get that layered effect using polygel. I have done polygel marbling before, but it was just the colors kind of swirled together. It wasn't swirled together and layered in this way. So I'm super, super happy with the end result. I wanted to give you guys a little look at what they look like when they glow in the dark. Here they are, so freaking pretty and so bright. When they come out of that nail lamp, they're gorgeous. You can see that there is a couple different colors throughout, the green and the blue, and that is because I used the different colors of polygel when building the nails. So you get a really fun, cool look. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think of the set down below. Of course, as always, if you have any questions, suggestions, or requests for different sets, let me know down below. I love to hear from you. Be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.